And a good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Woodlawn Station, the new show on WIUR. Chris Gambino, Colin McGee, Dominic Noto back at you, and we're already changing our name, Woodlawn Station. Colin brought up that name a few days ago. Really liked the idea of it, and so hate to move on from the Bleacher Creatures names, iconic, but all things must change, I guess. But speaking of the Woodlawn Station, which is the subway station where we take the 4 train to go to Yankee games, we will not be going on the 4 train for very much over the next couple months because the baseball season is over. The Yankees lost the World Series in 5 games. They did not win a week ago today. That was a very, very bad game, one of the worst I've ever seen. And and I feel it's only fitting that we start with that 5th inning, which is don't want to. I don't like to I don't want to think about this, but I feel like we have to recap this game, and I think it's best to start with the 5th inning instead of going in chronological order of the game and starting with like the good that happened at the beginning. I think we got to start with the bad, which was that 5th inning in the worst defensive display or showing of defense on a baseball diamond that I've ever seen in the biggest moment of the year. At a time where this team had momentum on their side and just 3 humongous errors that led to the Dodgers tying the game 5-5, where at that point the momentum went on their side and they would end up winning the game later on. Started with Aaron Judge, of all people, dropping that fly ball, which was not a can of corn, but he makes that catch 10 times out of 10. I mean,
he made that catch every time this year.
Exactly.
That was his first error in the outfield this entire season.
Unreal. Volpe decides to throw to third to get Kike Hernandez, which was a smart idea, but didn't make the best throw.
I'd argue it's not smart. I'm a very big Volpe guy, and I'll defend him. But when you're up by 5, you're trying to prevent a big inning. You have to go to set. You have to take the easy out. You can't be obviously like the runner in front of you, but I mean, it's too close of a play to go after. You need the out. You trade the run for the out every day. And like now, obviously hindsight's 2020, but even at the time, you're like, why isn't he going to second on this?
Yeah. But even then, in the moment, I just think Jazz has got to make a better pick at third.
That's true.
Got to make a way better pick there. And I think that's, he's not a third baseman. He's not. He's never played this position in his career. He's asked to, come here and play for this team in a World Series race, and he's going to make errors in that spot. But the worst was when Garrett Cole got the ground ball to first and Anthony Rizzo didn't cover. Now, I want to hear from you guys about this, but it's all Anthony Rizzo in my opinion. Should Garrett Cole have covered first? Absolutely. Garrett Cole should be covering first there. But if you're Anthony Rizzo, you have to have the awareness to understand you're not doing the things that you used to be able to do with the bat. You're not a threat. You're not a power threat. You're not an offensive threat. The least you can do is cover first base for your pitcher who's struggling out there, who's grinding to get out of that inning.
Not struggling, but grinding.
Well, yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly. Like really doing all he can, sweating out there. It was a pretty humid day.
He must have been at like 20 pitches at that point too.
And giving them the kitchen sink, throwing everything out there. You have your center fielder, your captain, dropping a fly ball. You got other guys on your team making errors. And the least you could do as the first baseman is cover, play your position, at least make an effort to run there. And instead he plays lackadaisically, doesn't
plays even back on the ball.
Basically jogs to first base. And I have to say really quickly that after that inning, I felt something that I'd never felt as a Yankee fan. And I found myself rooting for the Yankees to lose that game. And I said this when we were watching the game, that not that I was rooting for the Dodgers, because I actually hate the Dodgers now as a Yankee fan. I mean, how could you not, genuinely?
Yeah. Well, they're everything we should be.
Exactly. And also with the comments that some of the players made and coaches made after, which we'll get
Kelly.
To. Dave Roberts even saying some stuff. But I think I was rooting against the Yankees after that 5th because if they were able to come back and win that series, or even be the first team to come back from down 3-0 to force a game 6, that would be a travesty to sport of baseball. Because what that would say to all the little leaguers and young players that are trying to make a name for themselves is that it's all about talent. It's not about dedication. It's not about hard work. It's not about playing the fundamentals, good base running, good defense. All it takes is some talent, and then the rest is a crapshoot, and you can do anything. And that's not what this sport is. And I'm glad that the baseball gods, or just the Dodgers in general, playing the fundamental game that they do, were able to punish the Yankees and prove that that's not how you play this game. That's not how the 2004 Red Sox did it. That's not how you can do it. You have to play the fundamentals well, and it's something that plagued the Yankees all year, and they did not do anything to fix it.
And how symbolic was it, right? Because we talked so long throughout the season how the Yankees were awful running the bases, were awful a lot of times on defense. They've had their problems, and it just feels very symbolic. This is the way that this season ends. I mean, we talked about all the errors before, but obviously I think the one that is ultimately going to be the most infamous is going to be the one between Garrett Cole and Anthony Rizzo. And if you go back and look at that play, because there's a lot of fans out there who are blaming Garrett Cole. I've seen that a lot, out there, just social media, stuff like that. If you go rewatch the play, Garrett Cole does start to take off for first base. However, he looks up at Anthony Rizzo because Anthony Rizzo is far closer to the bag than Garrett Cole ever would be from the pitcher mound. Mm-hmm. And you see Garrett Cole stop and points at Rizzo. The reason why Garrett Cole stopped is because he saw how close Rizzo was. And at that point, when Garrett Cole stops, Garrett Cole is not going to be Mookie Betts to that bag. See, unlike a lot of Yankees, Mookie Betts runs hard to first base. That's something with the Yankees. They don't do that. I mean, you look at Gleyber Torres. Remember, he got benched because he wasn't running the bases hard enough. I mean, that's what separates these two teams in general. But long story short, I don't think Garrett Cole's beating Mookie Betts to that bag. No, I don't think he is.
He's not.
No, so Anthony Rizzo, who is a former platinum glove at first base, a guy who is a World Series champion, he's been on this stage before. He can't run 5 feet to first base. Are you kidding me? I get people were saying that it had there's a spin on the ball. He had to back up and get it. But still, where is you saw? Because Anthony Rizzo looked up, he saw that Garrett Cole wasn't moving. And this is just what got me the most about it. Because I understand if Rizzo runs to that bag and he doesn't get there, he stopped running. There was no effort. He just stopped. He looked up. He gave up. It's the World Series. How do you give up?
And really quickly before Dom, I just feel I have to say, listen, thank you, Anthony Rizzo, for your service for this team. Thank you for all the moments. But respectfully,
no thanks.
See you later. I'm done. No. He's played this way his entire career, and it worked in Chicago because he was able, talent-wise, right? He was able to get past it, right? He was in 2015 and 2016 in the playoffs. It's like the guy never got out. All he did was hit big home runs, big moments, played great defense, and so he could have a little bit of fun. But I feel like for years now on this team, he's been playing this lackadaisical defense, this lackadaisical, approach to playing first base. He's always talking to guys, right? In clutch, in big situations, he's always talking to guys on the other team, having a laugh with them, having a laugh in the dugout with Judge and Stanton in moments when you really shouldn't, right? When the Yankees would lose these blowout games, when it was really bad in 2023. He's just such a lackadaisical player, and that's fine in some environments, but not this team. It's not what this team needs. And respectfully, and thankfully it's over.
Yeah, I agree that it's on Anthony Rizzo on that ball. I think when you look at the clip, Garrett Cole's basically the same distance from the bag when he looks up and points as Mookie Betts is. He's not beating Mookie Betts in a foot race. It's just not going to happen.
And maybe Anthony Rizzo isn't either. But you got to at least make that effort.
You have
to make that effort.
Pretend to try and
right.
Again, like you said, Anthony Rizzo is a great player, legend in Chicago. I mean, he had maybe a good year and a half with us.
Yeah.
But since that concussion, it's just he's been a shadow, and we never really got Anthony Rizzo the platinum glover on the Yankees. We got better than Luke Voit defense when he came back, when he came over on that deal. And then that was we got that for maybe a year and a half. And then, he kind of started to slip. I mean, his defense was never really what it was ever at as a Cub. And we would always hear about this platinum glover. He's a platinum glover. He's a platinum glover. But you never really got that sense when he was with the Yankees. And very Anthony Rizzo is widely respected throughout the game. So no shade to Anthony Rizzo. A wonderful player, has had a wonderful career, and will still continue to probably will get a contract from a different team. I don't know, probably Chicago, maybe Chicago. But I mean, he'll be around the league, but I don't see there being any chance that the Yankees are seeing that and they're we want to run it back with him. He's just not the answer anymore, and that. You have to know that.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of the good, I guess. How it started for this team.
That was fun.
Where Judge and Chisholm go back to back. Yankee Stadium electric for the first time in a while, really, even more so than the night before. It was unbelievable. And it felt like something special was brewing. But again, this sport will come back to haunt you, and it comes down to each individual play. Sometimes you can do everything right, and you'll have an inning like the fifth inning where everything is wrong. It just in the Yankees case, it's not one individual inning. It's months and months of lackadaisical defense and base running, and being okay with it, right? Being okay with it because you felt they were going to slug their way to the World Series if they were going to get there. That's the only way they could get there, right? And they ended up getting the schedule of Kansas City and Cleveland, and they ended up doing those things against those two teams too, right? There were moments where,
but they out-talented them.
Exactly.
They're not going to out-talent the Dodgers.
Exactly. And not only that, but right, the Dodgers came in just playing fundamental defense, also putting pressure on the base paths, right? Kike Hernandez did that a lot. I mean, say what you want. He's one of those Dodgers that I'm really starting to hate.
The worst.
Exactly. He said a lot of stuff
he's
this postseason, always talking. But
Such a talker.
But I'll give it to him. Listen, he shows up in the big moments.
Well, when you win, you can talk.
Right. Exactly. I don't know if I could say that about Joe Kelly, though. I mean,
definitely not.
Joe Kelly
him not even being on the roster.
Joe Kelly hasn't had a healthy season since 2019,
right.
So I don't know what he's talking about. But
Kike, at least, what I'll say, he put pressure on the base paths, forcing Judge to have to rush that catch.
He contributed, yeah,
exactly, and forcing Volpe to make that throw.
And he started that inning.
So yeah, so listen, great baseball player. He was actually a guy who the Yankees were interested in bringing in before the year, but they couldn't guarantee him all that playing time. And I honestly think he would have been great for the Yankees. I mean,
I don't want Kike Hernandez.
Really,
I never.
I mean, now
I don't want to have to. I don't have to. Even when he was with he's always like a thorn in our side. When I heard them wanting talking to Kevin Kiermaier. Bringing him in for center field, maybe when he left the Rays, or maybe it was last year before he went to the Dodgers. They talked about Kevin Kiermaier being an option and as a fifth outfielder or fourth outfielder. I hate Kevin Kiermaier the same way that I hate Kike Hernandez, and I do not want to have to root for them. I'm sorry, I just don't like those two players.
It's fair, but I just it does sting the same way, not the same way, but how Freddie Freeman stings. That we could have had him. You got Anthony Rizzo on father time already, but Freeman's still slugging for the Dodgers.
No ankle.
Exactly. It's they have no ankle. I mean, you can imagine how that would be on the Yankees. I mean, God forbid, you get a little cut and you're offered 3 months on this team. He's playing on one ankle. I mean, it's ridiculous. Shohei Ohtani just got surgery for this thing that he got hurt in Game 2 apparently, and so that was a big problem.
He'll be ready for opening day. Apparently.
Oh yeah,
because of course.
Man. So yeah, anything about the first couple innings you want to say? Or should we get? It's not much.
I mean, it was exciting. It was all-time high.
Before
vibe.
We get to even more bad.
The best vibes of the World Series, I would have to say, going up 5-0 and Game 5, you're like, oh my God, maybe we could pull it off, but
no.
Yeah, Judge. I mean, Judge had a good game, and that was exciting. But then it was, offensively.
Well, that's just the problem, though, right? Because once again, Judge finally comes through. He finally is starting to come through in the World Series in the postseason. But that's not going to be remembered. The drop is what's going to be remembered, and that's the unfortunate part. But that's also what happens when you just make those basic mistakes. I mean, how is it that a guy who that's his first error of the season in the Game 5 of the World Series in the worst possible spot? It couldn't happen just in a random August game against the Oakland A's. Oh no, God forbid.
No, God forbid.
Happens in the 5th inning of Game 5 of the World Series. That is unbelievable.
Which makes me wonder just how much he's getting into his own head. Because I thought it was just offensively. I remember saying it on the show last week. If I was Aaron Judge's coach, or if I was Aaron Boone, I would be talking to Aaron Judge. Listen, you're this great guy. You're a great defender as well. You can help this team in so many different ways other than just your bat. The bat got seemingly fixed. He hits a home run, an Aaron Judge bomb too.
He did kind of rob a double earlier in that game, though, so you got to give him credit there.
But then, the worst drop of his career, and honestly,
one of the most egregious,
one of the worst drops in Yankee history
I've seen.
One of the worst drops in Yankee history.
That's probably worse than because the Luis Castillo of the.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's
that
a
was
Mets
a regular
thing, but obviously it's but it feels just as egregious as that, where you're seeing he's. That's a ball you catch every time if you give him that again.
Also in the 8th inning, we didn't even get to that yet. The balk and the catcher's interference. That's what led to them scoring the go-ahead run in the 8th inning. Just once again, even after the 5th inning, you still make those dumb mistakes. I mean, I get that the team probably was feeling down, but you can't even say that, right? Because they came back and they took the lead. So, like,
Yeah.
I just don't get it. I don't get how consistently you continue to make those errors. I mean, especially after the 5th inning, the fact that Boone didn't try to, at least talk to the players, try to lock that down. The fact that it comes back up again in the 8th inning, it just really comes to question once again, is Aaron Boone the right guy? Because we heard so much about how he's a player's manager and the guys love him. But ultimately, in most cases, that's not going to win you a World Series. And we saw it there. I mean, Dave Roberts, I'm sure the players do like him, but I think Dave Roberts does a better job with that team than Aaron Boone does.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And Dave Roberts has got a lot of criticism too, because listen, they've lost in the playoffs like us, but he pushed the right buttons.
Right.
Aaron Boone didn't.
Exactly. And I do think a lot of it goes on the front office too. Again, surrounding the Dodgers had a lineup of guys who, right, obviously they played fundamental defense. They had a plan coming into this World Series, knowing that the Yankees are flawed in that department. Flawed in the fundamentals
They
department.
scouted them. They had them scouted to a T.
But like what I'm saying is, it's like you're scouting them, and you realize they can't play baseball. Is what you're finding out. All they can do is hit. All they can do is slug. And slug past bad AL Central, or not bad teams, but like beatable AL Central teams. It's like the guys like Joe Kelly and Dave Roberts are not wrong to say that the Padres were the World Series or that the Mets were the real World Series. Or you're not wrong to say that. I believe that was the real. I believe the NLCS was the World Series.
No,
and
I think it was more the Padres Dodgers.
I don't think
honestly,
so.
The Padres are better than them. I mean, the Padres are the best.
No,
team
I think they're better, but
the
Mets were hotter.
We can look back on it. I think it goes Padres, Dodgers, Yankees as best teams of the postseason.
I think it goes Dodgers, Mets, Padres.
No.
Yankees.
The Mets were not a better team than the Yankees. If
not better, but I think they would have swept the Yankees.
No,
I still
they
believe
absolutely
that.
would not have.
I still believe that. I still believe that.
Listen,
Now,
I know that showing was pathetic, but this was still a talented team that was
I agree.
very good at playing.
I agree.
It was a very good baseball team.
I agree, but the Mets at least did the fundamentals.
This is
well.
revisionist history off of
I'll give them that.
like a bad game. I mean, obviously there was issues, like these fundamental issues were present throughout the whole season, especially in the postseason. But to say that they were worse than the Mets,
Mets team not worse than the Mets. I think the Mets would have done a better job.
I don't think the Mets
against the Yankees.
I don't think so.
I think they'd win that series.
I don't think
and
so.
I think it would be a pretty decisive for the Mets.
Are you?
They played
the Dodgers and
the
Yankees
Mets played fundamental baseball. The Dodgers and Yankees were close on an individual game.
This was
right.
If you look at each game like closely, these were very winnable games for the Yankees. They basically threw away 2 games. Do the Mets even get in those situations? Do the Mets even extend those innings? Do they have the lineup?
What I will say
that the Dodgers do, they don't.
The Mets handed the Dodgers
when the bases are loaded in the top. But was it bottom of the 10th inning in the game 1? It's not Freddie Freeman walking up. It's like
P. Alonso.
Yeah, you could say it's P. Alonso.
I mean, what did you do against Devin Williams? I mean, it's Nestor Cortez.
Anyone. Nestor Cortez isn't in that situation. Then
you could put literally anyone in that situation.
It wouldn't be.
You could put Josh Donaldson at bat in that 10th inning against Nestor. He's sending that ball 500 feet. That's the worst pitch I've ever seen in my life.
I don't think there's no way that Nestor's in that situation because it's a whole different lineup.
I don't know. But anyway, I think this is a good time to bring up Joe Kelly. And Dave Roberts. I think we have to, right? Because it's kind of what we're talking about. That Joe Kelly, right? Who I don't even think he pitched in this postseason for the Dodgers. Right?
No, he's not on the roster.
No, he's not on the roster.
I think he was injured the whole season. I mean, he might have pitched. He might have pitched a couple. He might have pitched some innings, but like 30 innings maybe.
Yeah, and it's like he comes out and says that the Yankees would have ranked like 8th or 9th in postseason rankings if we did a re-ranking. Saying that Yankees were playing Yankee defense, and that eventually the Dodgers were going to end up winning that because of this faulty defense on the Yankee side, shoddy defense, and basically just talking all this smack. It sucks because he's in a position where he's a member of the Dodgers, so he has and the team won the World Series, so he has the right to say what he wants. But he also wasn't one of those guys.
Jones going on a podcast after the Yankees winning a world. That's the equivalent. What are you talking about, Jemai? You didn't contribute.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you take a test, a big test, and you forget to study for it, but then you get the results back, you get the grade back, and you get like a 95, and you're like, oh yeah, I didn't even study for that test, and I still got a 95.
It's like the kid in the group project that doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
and then takes all the credit.
It's just like what I'm saying. And then Dave Roberts saying that the Padres was the real World Series, that he felt it was the real World Series. My question to those guys would be, where were they when when Stanton hit that 2-run home run in Game 1, right? Where were they when the Yankees were leading in the bottom of the 10th of Game 1? Where were they when the Yankees won Game 5? And where were they when the Yankees were up 5-0 in Game 5, right? Or when the Yankees won Game 4? Where were they, right? Where were they when the Yankees actually made this series close? When Jose Trevino came up as the go-ahead run in the 9th of Game 2? It's like, they want to talk about the series as being like the easiest World Series to win ever. But there were moments where the Dodgers were pretty scared of the Yankees. I mean, it's not exact. This wasn't exactly a pushover. If the Yankees weren't as pathetic as they were in these big situations, we could be having a completely different conversation right now. So I just think it's really insane. It's unfortunate for us because they did win. So they can talk, they can say anything that they want, honestly. But really, I just think at the end of it all, us, the fans, are the ones who lose, because Hal and Brian Cashman are happy making the playoffs, making the World Series. The players,
there's going to be no change in this front office or
no change,
the managerial office.
Maybe
Unless
a couple
someone
changes,
gets hired away. I mean,
maybe a couple lineup changes, but other than that, that's the same.
It's going to be Boone, Osmus, Rojas at third base.
We can't complain as fans, because God forbid the Red Sox, who won 4 championships in this century, complain about not being in the playoffs in like 3 years, but we can't complain about what we're seeing right now. So we're the ones who lose at the end of the day. But it's whatever, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, that's also part of the problem too. Like, not a single fan of the MLB feels bad for us. And that's just the nature of being a Yankees fan. It's the nature of being a part of this organization. But I mean, one thing I wanted to do, I just at least is, wrapping up kind of the postseason here, is I wanted to just address 2 players. I mean, obviously, I need to start off with Giancarlo Stanton. He deserves his flowers. Mm-hmm. He was phenomenal this postseason. That has to be said. I think he forever kind of earned himself a part in Yankee history because of that. And ultimately, they ended up winning the World Series, but consistently has always showed up in the postseason. I talked about it a little bit last week, how very often fans would be very critical of Stan. I remember when he first came here in 2018, a lot of people said that he was not worth the money. He should never been given that contract. He doesn't play the field. He gets hurt often. But, I mean, that's really why you sign these guys, to show up in October. And he did that, and he was really just an incredible force. So, I mean, we have to acknowledge him. But also, we have to talk about Garrett Cole, because despite what happened in the 5th inning, I still truly believe the Yankees failed them. There's no way around it. Yeah. I mean, I think that he was electric to start off Game 5. I mean, they zoomed in on his face during that. You saw how locked in he was. He had all 5 of his pitches going, and then just the defense failed him. 5 unearned runs. I mean, it's insane to say, but also another part about that 5th inning, which I kind of want to get back to a little bit, is he threw, I believe it was 40, 50 pitches in that inning. Why did Matt Blake not come out there and slow down the game? Where was the urgency there? I mean, the guy just is consistently thrown. I mean, I'm not saying he was bad, but you could tell he was getting tired, as any human being would be, out there throwing 40 pitches in an inning, and they don't slow down the game for him. No mound visits, nothing. And by the time they did a mound visit, the game was already tied. It was already over. So, like, I don't get that rationale. I mean, he still was able to pitch, I believe it was into the 6th inning, but I mean, 7th inning. 7th inning he went to.
Still got to the 7th.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy to say. I mean, he was electric. I mean, they just failed him. There's no other way around that.
It was probably one of the best Cole performances I've ever seen.
I think it's his best performance ever.
He was, I mean, before that 5th inning, he was dicing them up. And even after that 5th inning, when he came back out, he was pitching on fumes, and he was still pretty good.
I would hope that everyone on the Yankee team gave him a huge apology after that, because they all let him down. Everyone on that team let him down. His manager, I think, is Boone might be the least to blame, but I hope he gave him an apology. Rizzo's obviously number 1 to blame for that. I don't know. I don't know if Rizzo did apologize or not, but I hope they did. I kind of got vibes of, I don't know if you remember Game 5 of 2015. It was Matt Harvey who was pitching for the Mets in that game. And that one was a little different, because that was on a little on Harvey, because he was pitched 8 shutout innings. The Mets were winning. They were looking to push a Game 6 to go back to Kansas City, right? But Harvey begged Terry Collins to put him out there for the 9th. He goes out in the 9th, gives up a couple hits. They bring in Bartolo Colon, and the game pretty much collapsed from there. Kind of defense was shoddy on the Mets side as well, so it kind of gave me vibes of that. But on this side, in this case, you can't blame Cole for any of it. I mean, come on, the guy. I get the game was still tied, but And maybe he should have made better pitches to Teoscar Hernandez and these
Freddie
other
Freeman
guys.
as well.
Freddie Freeman, with that base hit.
That pitch was exactly where he hit those home runs
Yeah.
with middle in fastball.
It's almost like they'd never learned their lesson.
Exactly. But at the same time, you have to understand
They don't learn.
right? He's fatigued. He's
Absolutely
his ability to bounce back after that was still something to admire. Sorry.
Are you kidding me? Ridiculous.
But yeah,
Unacceptable.
I wanted to buy a Garrett Cole jersey.
Who's calling you, pretty boy?
I don't even see a nothing. I wanted to buy a Garrett Cole jersey, but I don't think I can give this team any more money.
I'll show you a website to buy it for like basically nothing. They don't deserve your money.
No.
Give it to DHgate. Oh my god.
Oh man. What else? What else is there to talk about?
Well, I mean,
free agency,
outside of postseason, obviously.
I guess we could talk about Juan
off-season.
Soto's comments where he was very. You
Alright,
understand why.
That was the same thing Judge did, though.
I know.
In fairness.
I get it. But, coming off the World Series, fans didn't really want to hear Juan Soto say, all 30 teams have a fair chance. I mean, get why he did it. I still think that at the end of the day, I think we re-sign him. But, I mean, that's just what you get with a Boris client.
Yeah.
I feel uncertain about the Soto thing. Like, I was pretty sure that they would shell out for Judge and that Judge would make an exception, like would take a discount, a little bit of a discount.
Yeah.
I don't think Hal's the premier spender in the league anymore.
No.
I don't think the Dodgers are either. I don't think the Dodgers are going to overpay. If you look at all their contracts, none of them are overpays. Those are all team-friendly deals. Like Freddie Freeman, they got on a discount because there wasn't a market for him. Shohei Ohtani took a very team-friendly deal for what his value is. Mookie Betts was an extension, and that is looking like a steal. I mean, they don't give contracts to players that they don't like unless they're getting a good deal. They're not doing it. Obviously, that Yamamoto deal, they paid a premium. That's the only one I can think of that them paying like a premium on a player. And I can't see them paying the $600 million that Juan Soto is going to want.
Right. That Yamamoto one's going to look nice when they sign Ryoki Sasaki, who's now attracted to the Dodgers because of his fellow Japanese players that are there. And now any Japanese player is going to want to play there, right? Because I'm just closing on the West Coast, and you play with some of the best
Japanese
fellow countrymen. It's awesome for them, right? Why would you want to go anywhere else? So that Yamamoto signing is going to look even better in a couple of years. I don't see the Dodgers getting him. I think it's going to be the Mets.
It's Mets or Yankees.
Yeah.
That's the 2-horse race. I've heard, we've seen Blue Jays say that they're like going to be in. I think the Blue Jays are just going to be bait again, like they were with Ohtani.
No.
Trying to think of who else
I think is going to be really in on him. Boston. I think they're going to be huge,
but I don't think they don't really need a lefty bat.
No, but
there are bigger needs on the Boston.
I don't think they'll do it because I think they're gonna get Corbin Burns.
There are much bigger needs for them. Corbin Burns seems like a good fit for them.
I think he's a great fit. Yeah. But like that's another thing. It's like I when it happened, I was kind of all right with it for them. Because I don't really like them, obviously. I don't like them at all, obviously. But like looking back, what an awful trade that Mookie Betts trade was. Oh my god.
It was bad at the time, and it was.
And now we know Alex Verdugo, and they got Verdugo.
That was
the
one
centerpiece
of
that trade. Is unbelievable. It was a salary dump, is what it was. It was a salary dump, and Alex Verdugo is what they got.
Can't believe
unbelievable.
That was like a salary.
That's unbelievable. That's a guy who could have like competed with Ted Williams for the greatest Red Sox player of all time, and they just let him go. And then Chris Sale winning the Cy Young with Atlanta this year. Unreal. Unreal.
That was even worse of a trade.
Unreal. Yeah.
They got Von Grisham and they ate a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Like that's
what that
Chris, and then now he's going to win a Cy Young.
Awful. And then all the money that they spent on him that they're still spending on him.
Yeah,
right? It's off terrible.
They're paying him to pitch for the Atlanta Braves. I mean, granted that I felt like they kind of needed to move on from him, and especially all the injury concerns, but like they got nothing for him, and like I mean that looks so bad right now. Like Chris Sale was definitely primed for a breakout. It felt like as soon as he went to Atlanta, like I found myself saying, like, "Oh my god, he's gonna be a Cy Young again."
Yeah,
I'm just glad that he's not in the AL East anymore to terrorize the Yankees. That's definitely a silver lining there. I mean, Boston making mistakes is not a point of disappointment for us.
Not, but it's still like It's shocking. It's really
Yeah.
shocking. What I'll say about Soto is the message I want to send to Yankee fans is, I don't know if this is me getting older. I don't know if this, and just getting tired of it, right? I dealt with this with Judge, right? I was freaking out for months over Judge not wanting to come back, thinking he was going to the Giants, and then that whole Arson Judge thing just made it even worse. And then the Padres were on him, right? What I want to say to Yankee fans is, I don't think it's the absolute end of the world if they let Soto walk. And I know that sounds shocking. It's not what they want to hear right now. But I have faith that Brian Cashman has a hell of a B plan option.
Oh, you better.
And I will say, because I'm really convincing myself that this is going to happen, but I don't think an offseason of Pete Alonso, Alex Bregman, Teoscar Hernandez, Max Fried, Blake Snell, any of those names, 3 or 4 of them, instead of one Juan Soto.
This is the thing.
I'm not saying they're going to get all of those guys.
I feel like we've lived this before. We've lived this dream before, where
and it's not gonna happen.
If it's not Soto, I feel like it's gonna be like one underwhelming piece, and then maybe they'll make a trade.
And that's the scary part.
And you're gonna feel I'd be shocked if they go 0-9 and just sign everything in sight once he leaves. Like I'd be shocked, because if they're like if you're gonna go on a spending spree, like why didn't you do that for Juan Soto? Like basically the Ted Williams of our generation. Like why wouldn't you do it then? Like that is the person to shell out.
But
for.
I think
isn't really. But Pete Alonso, does Pete Alonso really excite you? He's more of what we already have.
No, but
like I don't want Blake Snell.
No.
I don't want another Carlos Rodon to have to deal with. Although Rodon's been solid, but I don't need. We don't need another Carlos Rodon type contract. Right. I don't. Max Fried. You also said. I think Max Fried might be going to the Dodgers. Believe it or not. He might be going West Coast. He's West Coast kid. So
yeah.
He's not saying with the Braves. Who else you met? Teoscar Hernandez. I want nothing to do with Teoscar Hernandez.
Really?
I think he's going to get way too much money. I don't think he's
going to get a lot.
He's had strikeout issues in the past. He was in a very good Dodgers lineup. He definitely feasted off of that. Yeah. I mean, Teoscar Hernandez is going to get pitches, because when you're hitting in a lineup that consists of Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, and Freddie Freeman, 3 MVPs, you're going to get pitches to hit, and that's what he did. He put up a good season. Now, you remember when he was with the Mariners, he was terrible. Like he had one of the highest strikeout. I think he had the highest strikeout rate in the league. He was good in that. He was solid in that Blue Jays lineup, and he can hit in the AL East. And I don't doubt that he can be a productive player. I just don't think that he's going to be worth the money you're going to give him.
What about Alex Bregman? No, third base.
Bregman, I think Bregman's an Astros merchant. I think he benefits from that short portion left.
The Crawford box.
He does play well when he's at Yankee Stadium, but that might just be a Yankee. That might just be a Yankees thing.
Yeah. No, listen. I'm not saying that I want to do that. I'm just saying I don't think it's the end of the world if they lose him, and I think they would need to put off a 2009 offseason, because if you're losing Juan Soto, who's essentially at this point become the co-face of the franchise with Aaron Judge. And really, Aaron Judge, is kind of antagonized now because of his performances in this postseason. There's no going back after making the World Series. And I think us, the fans, we are smart enough to understand this team is not going to be better next year than they are this year. But the Yankees have to sell that to us. They have to sell that to us, because they were going to lose season ticket sales if they didn't go get Juan Soto. If they lose Juan Soto now, they got to get those ticket sales back. And I think making the lineup deeper, for Jazz Chisholm Jr., for Anthony Volpe. Maybe you do bring in Teoscar, and he has that protection in the lineup that he had with the Dodgers. He maybe replicates his success with LA here. Pete Alonso, very good defensive first baseman, actually. Very good defensively. Great power bat. Lovable player. I think can sell a lot of jerseys as well. I don't like him now, that much, but if he were to join the Yankees, I think he could be a fan favorite. Alex Bregman's a guy you could stick at third. Has had postseason experience for a long time. Third baseman. Don't have to worry about third base for years. And then in Max Fried, I understand we don't want to talk about pitching. We like the pitching that we have. But a proven postseason left-handed pitcher They did in the World Series against the Astros, integral to the 2021 Braves. I'm not saying they would get all or any of those guys if they lose Juan Soto, but
I feel
they
like it's
have the money. They would have the money because you got a lot of contracts coming off the books, a lot of relievers, a lot of other guys in the lineup. Josh Donaldson's buyout is coming off the books. How you like that?
Josh Donaldson.
So, they're gonna get money. They're gonna get money. And are you paying $700 million for Juan Soto when you could make your lineup deep for years? I'm just saying it's something to think about. And what I'm saying is I would have the belief in Brian to be able to have a good plan B to make this team sustainable, get back to the World Series if he misses out on Juan Soto, which he shouldn't. But, I wouldn't be absolutely losing my mind. It's going to be a tough pill to swallow, but they have to have a good B plan is all I'm saying.
I mean, I guess that's another question too, just the idea of getting back to the World Series. I mean, because by all accounts, we all kind of thought that was our best chance of winning the World Series.
Yeah.
That was the best chance for the window. What do you think that window looks like now? Because Baltimore underperformed, but they're still young, so they could rise. We have the teams
They
in the
also
AL
were
Central.
killed by injuries this year.
Absolutely. That's another factor as well. Like, who even knows if the Yankees can win the AL East next year? And then you have the teams in the Central. You have, I think the Astros are on their way down, thankfully.
Yeah.
But do we
Thankfully,
think that
Yankees.
they can still be this force in the American League going forward? Or are these other teams going to, like Baltimore, are they going to give us a problem?
Well, here's what I'm saying. And if you bring back Juan Soto, that's all you're doing, right? Maybe they make a trade for a first baseman. That's
Maybe
it.
a reliever in there.
Yeah.
But
That's it, right? You're
gonna
running
be
back the same
Soto.
team.
Basically,
You're running back the same team. And we saw what happened a couple years ago.
with a couple younger guys.
Well, I
in the-
imagine
filling in the
Dominguez
holes,
probably
but-
becomes an everyday starter.
Dominguez, maybe Spencer Jones works his way. But again,
I don't think Spencer Jones yet, but I think you're going to have Dominguez. You're probably going to have either Oswald Peraza or Caleb Durbin, who's doing very
Right.
well in the Arizona Fall League. That'll be your infield.
what you're doing is you're replicating 2023, where you brought back Judge, you made the luxury signing of bringing in a Rodon, you called up Volpe, and none of it worked out. It was awful, right? Because everyone else is getting better. Baltimore is going to get better. The Red Sox are going to get better. The Astros aren't going to get better, but they're still, I think, going to be there. I think they're going to be winning that division probably. And then who knows what the run they can go on in the postseason if they get there. And then the Central teams look like they could get better, although we know that the Yankees can have success against them. So the Yankees are still very much in this thing. The Yankees are still going to be one of the top teams in the American League next year. That's why I'm saying I'm 100% down for bringing in Juan Soto, right? They obviously proved that with him they can get to the World Series. But if you were to use that money to improve your lineup for years, and still be able to usher in these young guys, to maybe fix up your bullpen and your add one quality starting pitcher that wouldn't cost too much, but you have money to spend because you're not giving Soto everything, right? And a guy who's proven in the postseason like Max Fried, a solid lefty pitcher that usually they get better with age. It's interesting. It's very interesting. So I don't again, that's why I'm saying if Yankee fans, right? I understand it. This sucks. I understand
Obviously
this is
not
awful.
the end of the world,
But it's not. It's not the end of the world. It can be better. The Yankees can still do this again next year. It's going to be tough, but they have things to fix. It's going to take a lot of work, and that's why I'm saying it's either they take the quote-unquote easy way out and bring in Juan Soto and ride again next year with the same team that, ideally, hopefully they get a little better defensively with Jazz moving to second and getting a younger third baseman, maybe. Right. That's the thing with the outfield, right? Is now you have Soto, who's obviously not the best defensive right fielder. Judge, I can't see him playing center field for the rest of his career. Stanton still has the DH.
Yeah, well,
We're going to
Soto
stick
walks,
Dominguez and left. So that's what I'm saying.
Soto walks, Judge got to go back to right.
Right.
I think,
and then you have to have
need
Dominguez in center.
You need I think you.
I think you have to.
I don't know if Dominguez is a center fielder.
So then, where's he going to play?
Left field. And you put someone. Yeah, I mean, what's the? I guess without Soto right now, what do we have outfielders on the roster? It's Dominguez, Judge, and Grisham.
Is Grisham still
I
here?
think Grisham has one more year.
Oh god.
So
yeah, that's. I mean, yeah, no, that's
reaping the rewards of the Soto trade.
We have lost Soto, but we still have Trent Grisham.
It's got to be
Grisham.
Dominguez. It's got to be Dominguez in center. No way.
You might be right.
You got to teach him. You got to have him practice in the offseason. Something. He's got to get better there. He didn't look that bad when he first came up at center.
Yeah.
And then you get a left fielder. That's more money you could spend on an outfielder.
You also got to remember though, when he came up, it was like a week that he was up.
No, yeah, but
It was
again,
like he had a insanity run, but then he
it's-
then he had to get Tom and John.
I think that's why that's what the regular season's for, is to be able to usher those guys in, right? It's
Yeah.
not, expecting them to play in 2 weeks at the end of the season and then play in the playoffs,
Yeah, no,
right?
absolutely.
You got to usher them in, and that's what the Dodgers did with his name Andy Pajes, is his name,
Yeah,
the
Pajes.
outfielder.
Yeah,
Some of
yeah.
the young pitchers that they had, like River Ryan and
Ryan didn't get any. I don't think he pitched.
he did. He got hurt. He probably would have pitched in the postseason. I mean, if they're throwing out Landon Knack. They're probably, it was
Ben
Ben
Kasparius.
Kasparius, yeah, like Brent Honeywell Jr. If they're throwing out these guys, they would have definitely give River Ryan a couple of outings.
They just got decimated with injury. Like we're not the only fan base to probably feel this right now with the Dodgers. It feels like very daunting to beat them, because you got to think that this was probably the worst Dodgers team you're going to see for the next 5 years in the postseason.
Yeah, but
this Dodgers team is not going anywhere. This Dodgers team is not getting any worse.
No,
the only thing you can
not.
hope on, I guess, as a non-Dodger fan, is that Freddie Freeman regresses, Mookie Betts regresses, until Shohei Ohtani regresses. But that's like a tall ass.
You just got to get better
to make, or you get better.
That's what
they're
it
a
is.
beatable team. It's beatable. It's doable. But you gotta. I mean, not what I mean.
That's what I'm saying. Listen,
if they just add Soto and then you play this a series again, do they win? I don't know.
They could. You never know. But you also never know what could happen if they broke the bank on all their positions. I'm just saying it's going to be interesting, is all I'm saying. And I say that every offseason. I say this is going to be very interesting to see what they're going to do. But I say it's every offseason since like 2018. What are they going to? Are they going to go get Machado or Harper? No, they get LeMahieu. Are they going to go get Garrett Cole? They did, right? What are they going to do after 2020? What are they going to do after 2022? How are they going to approach the Judge sweepstakes? How are they going to get Juan Soto? They obviously did. What are they going to do here? Are they going to bring in Soto, or are they going to fix all these different positions, which they need help defensively? All I'm saying is it's not the end of the world. They can do it, but it's going to take work. It's going to take a lot of improvements, and I think I don't know if they're going to do it. I don't know, because that's not Brian Cashman, right? He's the type of guy to make one of the obvious signings and then go bring in a bunch of underrated trades just to prove how good of a GM he is, and then it doesn't end up really working out anyway.
Now, what do we think about the coming, I guess, free agents that we have on the team? Not
other than Soto.
Yeah, so obviously we just talked about Soto for the last like 30 minutes, but Alex Verdugo, Gleyber Torres, Clay Holmes. We did talk about Anthony Rizzo. I'm sure I'm missing a couple relievers in there.
There's only one real free agent on this team that I'm absolutely bringing back, and that's Tim Hill. That's the only one. That's the only one.
Timmy too is that.
He's the only player, the only free agent that I hands down, without a doubt, am bringing back. Every other one is either Soto question mark or goodbye.
Well, we already have confirmation Gleyber's gone, because
Yeah.
Cashman already did it the first time.
Yeah.
I mean,
that was
just throw it out there real quick. Who do you think is going to sign Gleyber?
Mariners
Pirates,
seem
maybe.
kind of.
I don't know. Someone. I don't know. Not the Yankees.
Mariners seem like they're always like enticed by Gleyber, but they're also maybe Ha-Seong Kim they'll go for. Or there's another
How about
Korean guy that's being posted, but I mean Gleyber is like the most well established.
How about the Dodgers?
Second base.
No. Gavin Lux. Is it a mix of Gavin?
No, because why are you? Gleyber's not. They don't spend money on that sort of player, I feel like, and they don't really need to. There's not a lot of reason to.
Yeah.
I mean, is Tommy Edman a free agent?
I don't know, but I would be all over signing him.
Yeah, I know the Yankees would.
I would.
I gotta think.
Well,
who else
while
is
you're thinking,
Twins maybe?
I'll say
actually no, they're cutting payroll, so maybe
yeah, whoever it is. Cleveland, no, they have Jimenez.
Yeah, no, they're locked up. Rocchio, Jimenez,
Boston.
Well, I mean, Rocchio maybe, but
Boston.
No. Their prospects are all middle infields, like infielders, and they're all like a step away from the major leagues. You got Roman Anthony, you got Marcelo Meyer.
Houston.
I don't think Houston's looking to spend money. If they're going to spend money, it's going to be Bregman.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's going to take a discount to go back there if he does.
I'm trying to think of every
That's
team
another
that's
reason why I
competitive.
say bring
Yeah,
in
Diamondbacks? Do they need a second baseman?
Jeff
Ketel
Ketel
Marte plays the
Marte's-
outfield though.
I think he mixes like every other year. Oh, plus Betts is going back to the infield, so that
For the Dodgers,
so
yeah.
that's
Forgot
what
about
you
that.
expect.
Phillies need a second baseman? No.
No, Stott. They have Bryson Stott
Stott doesn't play.
because they have Trey
Wait,
Turner at shortstop.
Oh, they play.
Yeah.
But now third base is open, so they can put Stott at third.
You're just
I don't know.
learning from
That's
the
the kind of
Yankees.
move.
I mean,
That's the kind of move that Phillies would make. I don't think
that
that's
whole thing's
got
got to go. The whole moving guys out of position. I'm sorry. I'm not a fan of that at all. Yankees have done that for years, and it doesn't work.
The Padres do it.
Padres?
Yeah, Padres. Do. Every single player on their team is played shortstop.
And where are they?
Basically,
right? They're on the couch.
Well, I mean, but that's.
Okay, no.
Everyone said
listen,
that they were like
they're
the
a
best team in
great
the
team.
postseason.
I'm not trying to criticize them, but like, at least it works out for them, right?
Blue
Tatis
Jays?
is a hell of an athlete.
No.
Tatis is an all-around amazing athlete. It's not Neil Walker going from infielder to outfielder. He's an all-time amazing athletic human being, right? Xander Bogaerts moving from short to second, right? Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying Jazz going from second or center fielder to third base. Like, that doesn't happen. You
Reds?
shouldn't do that.
Sorry, Reds. India?
I don't know. Yeah,
India plays second?
They still didn't trade him. Yeah, he plays second.
India plays third though too.
Yeah, so maybe them.
Reds need a bat.
Cubs,
so
bring it back.
bring him back to the Cubs. But they have that Madrigal. Don't they have Madrigal and Horner? I mean, they're both defensive, but it's like that's kind of like an infield that I think they like.
St. Louis.
That is.
No.
St. Louis, I think, is looking to cut payroll, right? And
but that's the thing with Glaber. It's like
there too.
I feel like
you have
Glaber's taking a
Gorman.
1-year deal.
Yeah, I think
Because
he
he would have
approved
taken the
deal.
qualifying offer if they offered it to him. They didn't even
That's
offer
why they
that
didn't
to him.
offer it to him. I thought
crazy.
they should have, to be
No,
honest.
he's gonna accept it. 21.5 for Glaber?
1 year.
No.
All right, worst case
Absolutely
scenario, he
not.
accepts it and you overpay him for 1 year.
Yeah, and then how are you gonna bring back Juan Soto?
I guess
You got Hal complaining about the payroll already. Like, that's another thing we gotta understand.
I guess the safety, but also
like, they're not gonna do anything.
They're not getting a
for
first round
years.
pick. I guess
That's another thing
like
with
the
Soto.
Orioles would get. They're
Is
getting a
if
fourth
they bring
round
in
pick.
Soto, if the Yankees get Soto, they're not doing a thing for years.
Yeah,
they're not because we have all the big contracts are still on the books for a while. Soto's going to be just yet another
when is
one.
Stanton done? 2028, 2027?
That's what 3 years from now. So that's this team.
Next presidential election.
Judge could be on the done by then. Soto could be looking different, right? I mean, these guys, this team could be pretty much gone.
Judge
by
is
then.
2031, right?
Yeah,
9
yeah.
years.
Now the thing that I will say is, there isn't. I mean, who's the next guy on this team that's like, oh, we got to extend this guy? Nothing. Has Anthony Volpe earned that?
No one comes to mind. I mean, Volpe is like
no.
He's not an extending like he hasn't played well enough for you to say that. I don't think you can justify it with Dominguez yet. I mean, there's you could make arguments, but there's no one who. I mean, Wells, but not like.
And that's
half of
you
the
worry
season.
About that. You worry about that when you get there.
I think they need to play better. I mean, maybe I don't even think like pitching wise, like with some of these guys like Schmidt and Heel who are both on their rookie deals. Yeah, I don't think they're extending candidates. I think Heel might even see traded. I think Schmidt's gonna walk whenever he goes to free agency. You might see him added in a deal or trade. Like he'll be in a trade if they make a trade. Maybe this offseason, maybe in the future. I don't know. But like, I don't know. They've produced a bunch of pitching recently in their farm system, and they've traded with that depth. So I think they'll continue to do that. They might in these big deals, it's looking like, Michael King was that centerpiece, I guess, to the Juan Soto deal. Michael King and Drew Thorpe, those were both big pitchers that they've developed. And I think they're going to continue to do that when they make trades in the future. So, I mean, it might not be the end of the world. There's not going to be another Soto, but there might be another trade candidate that comes up and that you didn't think was going to be available that they go after and they extend the window. But like, it's hard to feel like this team's going to get any better because, is Aaron Judge going to have a 2022, 2024 caliber season again? I mean, who knows? I mean, he's getting older. He's He's a big guy. I mean, those guys, there's not a lot of career longevity with those guys. I mean, we've heard that for a while.
Right.
Stanton's, he had a bounce back season, but is this the twilight years of his career? Garrett Cole's going to age 35. He's gonna be 35 next year.
I'm not concerned with Cole personally.
I'm not that concerned with Cole, but I don't know. Is Cole gonna be able to maintain that ace level performance that he's been doing? Is he gonna be is there another Cy Young season out of Cole coming? Maybe.
I mean, health's also a factor too when these guys get older. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
The team's older. It is a much older team than it was in 2017 and every other year.
And I get Soto's young. He's what, 25?
25. That's what he.
Right.
Yeah.
25,
oh wait, no,
25.
Did he turn 26?
He just turned 26.
Yeah,
Game one of the World Series.
Yeah, there you go. So he's gonna be really the only
He'll be
young
26 all year.
One of the only young players on the team, and so that's why it becomes such a difficult question of are we gonna have Soto and then who's that's another thing. It's like what's the stat of guys after they get their big contract? How do they perform? Right? Is Soto going to be playing at this top level, making $70 million a year for the next 10 years? And if he is, how well are these other guys going to play? Right? How well is this?
I think that's kind of what the idea is, because since Soto's young, is that when Judge's time is up, when Cole's time is up, Soto then becomes the face, or then you build the next core around Soto. I think that's kind of what the idea is.
That's 4 or 5 years.
It's a lengthen of a core.
It's like 5 years from now. It's halfway down his contract.
It's not 5 years from now.
Yeah, Cole.
Well, I mean, if you think we can go into the prospects and all that BS, but I mean, it is as much as Brian Cashman likes to say, the crapshoot of the postseason. It's the same thing with
and that's precisely another thing is Aaron Judge could hit 60 home runs next year, and we still have that. He still has that weight on his shoulder of going into the postseason and struggling in the postseason. That if they get to the World Series, he's going to have that to worry. All that's going to go to waste. So that's the part that hurts about it the most. That's going to be just another year of having to wait and see. And who knows, right? Because that's another thing is I'm not a fan of going into the season not improving your team, right? And if you bring back Soto, that's not an improvement. That's retaining a player.
No, yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
And replicating a previous season with nothing but youth. And I don't know if that's the way to go.
I think there are moves that you can make once you go after Soto. Or like let's say hypothetically
Trades.
they get Soto. The next move you got to make is for the bullpen.
Mm-hmm.
You got to improve that bullpen. You got to deepen it, and there's a little bit of wait and see, and you cross your fingers, hope that it works out. But the process that the guys that you're going to bring up, the guys that are going to fill, the young guys that you're going to fill the holes with, end up being something. That they end up being good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean it's uncertain, but you're kind of left with that.
Well, we're short on time, so I guess what we could do to end off here is just kind of because despite the fact that it ended this way, the 2024 Yankees are still the best team that we have ever seen as Yankee fans. That's crazy, as that is to say. So I guess what we could do now is maybe if you want to say a few words on the 2024 Yankees as a whole.
I'll start with the bad. I think it's still a failure. I'm going to say that. And the reason for that is solely because there were issues with this team that lingered all season long, defense and base running that they allowed. They pretty much brushed over until it hurt them, right? Karma got back to them and hurt them in the biggest moment. So for that reason, I do think it is unfortunately a failure, but it doesn't mean that it wasn't a fun season. It doesn't mean that it doesn't mean, I mean, still for me, like 2022 was an awesome season, at least the first half of that. But this, I think I would say that this was, I guess I would have to say this was the best year of Yankee baseball that I watched. Soto and Judge were a hell of a duo. A lot of good from this team. It was so much fun to go to all their games, listen, it was a hell of a season. It really was. But unfortunately, right, it all comes down to that final game, and they didn't win the final game. So, and they did it in a way of heartbreak and with an issue that was constantly hurting them that they didn't fix. So unfortunately, I do think it is a failure, but it was a hell of a season, and hopefully, to many more. Hopefully, they can come back and be here next year.
I guess the way I remember the 2024 New York Yankees is that, despite the fact it didn't end the way we wanted to, I really was invested in this team. I
Yeah.
mean, really from that first game in Houston when Soto makes that play where he guns it to home from right field. I mean, a lot of great moments. And, just this is what you want as a fan. You want a team that's competitive. You want a team where you have two superstars, Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, doing unbelievable things. But I think it is a failure because the Yankees standard always is winning World Series, winning championships. But I mean, for us, it's still as good as we've ever seen. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I always wanted to see the Yankees play in the World Series. I got to see the Yankees play in the World Series.
Yeah.
Did not go the way we
Listen.
wanted it to, but at least I can say this. Unlike many other Yankee teams, this Yankees team is memorable. It's definitely, I think,
Yeah.
a memorable Yankee team. Like
Absolutely.
I will always remember watching the 2024 New York Yankees.
Mhm.
Who knows what happens in the future? But I mean, at least there are definitely memories. And I think that's one thing I can be thankful for when I look back on this team.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely a failure. But I think I'll remember this season if Soto doesn't re-sign. So this will be just off of I'll remember it by Soto, and that first game in Houston really gave me hope. And I remember watching that game with my brothers and going and being like, he's so good. He's so good. And I'm like, I need him here for the next 15 years. And if he doesn't come back, it's money, it's business. I mean, I won't be shocked. But it was a great year. It was a very exciting year. I definitely had a lot of fun watching Juan Soto play for the New York Yankees, and watching him hit every game above Aaron Judge, and getting to see Aaron Judge go off again and having another wonderful year. And I do feel a little frustrated that it didn't end. They didn't end up finally climbing that mountain and finally pitching their flag at the top. But I am glad that I got to see a World Series. So that was I guess nice, but it doesn't always work out in your favor, I guess. So that's baseball, Susan.
Right. And
Not what you want.
Yeah, I guess that'll do it for
Kind of a sad note to end off the episode.
Yeah, but
Thank you to John
that's-
Sterling, by the way, as well.
my God,
John
I didn't
Sterling. No. Yeah.
know,
What a last game for him.
and I guess I could say this now real quick because he is officially retired, official. He's my favorite broadcaster of all time. He's the reason I want to do this. And I really wish we got to end it off better for you, John. But that being said, I guess we got to wrap this one up. Thank you guys for watching. We'll be back next week. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but we'll figure that
The
out.
New York Giants.
What about the
Oh, God.
election?
We'll see. The election, the Giants. We'll see. Tune in next week.
Couldn't help myself.